All right, good morning everyone and happy Thursday. I'm Jenny McCollum, I'm the Chief Procurement Officer for JEA and the Chair of the Awards Committee. I'd like to call the June 18th, 2020 awards meeting to order. We do have a quorum and we also do have a new awards committee. So I'd just like to introduce the committee members so that we can get their names on the record. We've got Alan McElroy, we've got Steve Tooten, we've got Stephen Datz, we've got Wayne Young, and then also the interim chief financial officer will also be on the committee, and we've got Joe Arfano as a delegate until Brian Roach comes on board and is able to step into the position. So welcome. I just want to thank everybody up front for their time and participation on this committee. It is a commitment and we understand that and we appreciate the efforts that you guys put into this. I'd like to just say that OGC is represented by Lasikia Hodges this morning, and then budget is represented by Alyssa Peterson. So I'm going to read through, and this some of you are new to the awards committee and doing it through a WebEx. So I just want to read through a script that we have as reasons why that we are doing this instead of meeting in person, and just ask you guys to bear with me as I go through this. Just also, as I go through each award, I will spend quite a bit of time, talking about them and going through them in case anyone on the phone isn't able to, see what we're looking at. Also, if they haven't had a chance to review it on the website where we posted before the meeting, I just want to be able to make sure everyone understands what we're awarding and have some good discussion about it. So in an effort to slow the spread of the COVID-19 virus and to encourage social distancing, Governor DeSantis issued Executive Order 20-69, allowing local governments to hold public meetings using communications media technology rather than in a physical location. In keeping with the executive order, the JEA Awards Committee meeting is being held via WebEx teleconference, which allows interested persons to view and participate in the meeting remotely. Individuals who have technical difficulties accessing the meeting or during the meeting should contact Jason Bear at 665-8750 for assistance. In the event multiple people have technical difficulties that preclude them from attending or accessing the meeting will be recessed or postponed until the technical issues can be remedied. This meeting is being recorded and minutes are being taken. Therefore, any individual who speaks during the meeting should do so clearly and slowly to ensure they are heard and understood for recording purposes and by other participants and attendees. Participants shall, regardless of how they are accessing the meeting, keep their microphones on mute at all times when not speaking. The meeting host, who is Landon, will have the capability to mute any microphone that is transmitting sound that causes feedback or that is otherwise disruptive to the meeting. Each person must wait to be recognized by the meeting host before speaking. If people attempt to speak out of turn or talk over others, they may be removed from the meeting. Each time an individual speaks during the meeting, they must first provide their name to ensure those dialing in can identify the speakers. Members of the public must state their names each time they make a comment. So for all the awards committee meetings, the public comment portion occurs at the beginning of the meeting, and all public comments should pertain only to items on the agenda and are limited to 3 minutes in duration. The agenda and associated materials can be accessed through the JEA website at jea.com under Procurement and under Awards, Meetings, Agendas, and Minutes. Members of the public may submit their comment by email in advance of the meeting or may log in or dial into the meeting to speak during the public comment portion of the meeting. Individuals who are unable to access the meeting or wish to submit their comments in advance may do so by submitting their comments via email to Jason Bear at behrjv@jea.com. Public comments submitted by email must be received no later than 10:10 a.m. on the date of the meeting. Public comments submitted by email will be read into the record during the public comment portion of the meeting. Individuals attending the meeting will be given the opportunity to comment one at a time and in an orderly fashion upon recognition by the meeting host. All public comments will be given equal consideration regardless of the manner in which they are submitted. When the meeting has concluded, the recorded version may be accessed at the same link that I just mentioned on JEA.com. And just a note for the new committee members, votes will be taken by roll call and will be done on an individual per item basis after a move and a second is presented to the committee. And then I will roll call through and announce each name of the voting members of the awards committee, who will then clearly announce their vote for the record so that all participants and members of the public can hear their vote. And if you guys have questions about that, we can talk about that once we move to the portion of the meeting where we start to review the items. But before that, I want to pass it over to Landon to just give us a brief training on how public comment will be handled from the meeting host perspective.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Landon Todd, and for those that are new to the WebEx technology, let me give a brief overview of the controls. If you are joining us via the desktop interface or a smart device such as a smartphone or a tablet, you may move around your screen and you will see a series of buttons at the bottom. The very first one that you may notice looks like a red microphone with a slash through it. If it's red, it means you are muted and will be on mute for the majority of this meeting unless recognized to speak. If you're recognized to speak or you are asked to provide additional comments, you will click on that button and it will turn dark gray or black. This will mean that you are unmuted and people can hear you. I do ask that you use the mute option to unmute your line when you're not speaking, as we mentioned before, and this will allow us to reduce the amount of background noise and have the most productive meeting possible. Also, if you'd like to see who's participating in this meeting, you can look over 3 more buttons to find an icon that looks like a person. If you click on that, it will bring up the participant list. If you're on a mobile device, it will pull up in front of everything, and if you're joined on your desktop machine, it will come up on the right side of your screen. This will allow you to see a long list of individuals who have joined this meeting. Also, we have enabled the chat capability. If you touch your screen or scroll next to the person icon, you will notice an icon that looks like a caption bubble. If you click on that, it will bring up a chat window. Please remember that this meeting is being recorded and I ask that you please be professional. But if you run into any difficulties, you can chat me directly and I am as the host listed at the top, or if you'd like to type any comments to everyone. Now, those are the major controls of WebEx. Now, for public comments, we will be using the raise hand feature. Now, if you're using the WebEx client, this feature is located within the participant window that I just mentioned. At the top of your list, your name will be visible, and to the right, you will notice a gray icon that looks like a hand. If you click it, it will turn blue, letting me know that you would like to be recognized for comment. Now, for those that have called directly into this meeting, which we have a few, there are 2 ways that you can notify me that you'd like to provide comment. Now, the first one is by pressing *3 on your phone, which will raise your hand, or you may press *6 to unmute your line. If you unmute your line, as we mentioned earlier, please state your name so that everyone may hear who is speaking before providing your comment. Now, as we go through this meeting, as mentioned, I am the moderator and have the capability to mute everyone's line. I will only do so to ensure that the meeting runs smoothly. Now, it is 10 minutes after, so we will proceed with the public comment section of this meeting. I will ask Jason to see if there's any public comments that were provided via email and that need to be read into the record. Jason?
This is Jason Bear. There is no public comment at this time.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, so for those that are using the WebEx technology, this is the time we like to provide comment during this meeting. Please take this time to raise your hand or send a message in the chat window letting us know that you'd like to be recognized. And I'm looking now. Seeing none, Jenny, I will go ahead and pass it back over to you.
Okay, thanks, Landon. Lynn, if you would please take control of the screen and put our packet up, I will take the awards committee through our items. Before we get started, do any of the awards committee members have any questions about the flow of the meeting, your responsibilities from a motion and a second, and then us running through a roll call of each of you individually to hear your vote? And we would do that per item. So for example, we're going to go over the awards from the June 4th meeting. And once we review those, if there's any questions or comments, you will have a chance to speak on that. If not, I will ask for a motion to approve it, and then someone would second, and then we would do the roll call. So before we get started, does anyone have any questions? Okay, perfect. All right, so on today's regular agenda, we have items 1 and 2 and 5 through 7. Awards 3 and 4 were deferred, and all of the items have been reviewed by procurement and by budget and are ready for the awards committee review. So as just described, we will walk through each of them individually, starting with award number 1, which are the meeting minutes from the June 4th, 2020 meeting, which was our last awards committee meeting. Do we have any questions or comments on that, on those meeting minutes?
Jenny, this is Alan McElroy. I move that we approve the minutes.
Thanks, Alan. Can I get a second, please?
This is Joe Arfano, second.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, Joe. So I had a motion from Alan and a second from Joe Arfano to approve the meeting minutes from the June 4th, 2020 meeting. I will do a roll call through the committee. Alan McElroy?
Approved.
Joe Arfano?
Approved.
Stephen Datz?
Approved.
Steve Tooten?
Approve.
And Wayne Young?
Approve.
Thank you. All right, moving to award item number 2. We do have an invitation to negotiate. I want to spend some time on this one. I think this was, a good procurement that our team has put together and really vetted well for these very important services for JEA. And so this was an invitation to negotiate, and it was for JEA Fleet Service Mobile Fueling, which again is very important to the operations of the business, not only on their daily needs, but also when we have a storm. So for emergency preparedness, this contract is key for us. So when soliciting this, it was for the mobile fueling services for our fleet vehicles. And the services that will be performed under this contract will be at a minimum the delivery of the diesel fuel directly from mobile vehicles, example like our tank wagons, to the fuel tanks of vehicles or other approved tanks. It will also provide for the delivery of diesel exhaust fuel, which we refer to as DEF, and totes to the JEA service centers. So the awardee, the recommended awardee, is Jacobus Energy LLC, and the award amount is $759,150. And this is for a 5-year period. So I'm going to take you guys through the process of this procurement. JEA received 2 responses. And the basis of award for this solicitation was the lowest total cost respondent. And they would win as long as the vendor met all of the minimum qualifications. So our minimum qualifications were also meeting the technical requirements and providing 2 references of past or current work with similar scope and volume to JEA. The bid was structured to cover those 2 different items I mentioned. So the sale and delivery to the JEA yard of the diesel exhaust fuel, so the DEF, which is an additive to reduce exhaust emissions, and the diesel fuel. So we set the workbook up as the DEF was bid as per gallon price, while the diesel was based on a markup of gallon or per gallon beyond the oil price information service, which we call OPIS, pricing for diesel fuel. And the current OPIS diesel fuel price was used for when we estimated the purposes of the bid workbook. I'll just note that we did have, originally at the pre-response meeting, we had low turnout. We only had 2 vendors attend. It was optional, but JEA took the initiative to reach out to the other 6 vendors who received the solicitation or had seen it on the website and had asked questions, et cetera, to ensure competition and to determine if there was something that we could change in the solicitation that would allow for the vendor to participate. It was determined from conversations with many of these vendors that most vendors did not have the robust wet fueling capabilities in the Jacksonville market and just chose not to submit the response. So we reviewed, JEA's fleet team and the procurement team reviewed the technical specifications further to determine if there were any other modifications that we could make to increase competition. And the primary thing that we saw that could be a limiting factor appeared to be the volume of equipment that we need to support JEA's storm response, which we have refined over the past 3 years and validated over the past 3 years through the hurricanes that we have been through. So it was determined to be in the best interest of JEA not to split that portion of the work out and to keep that service along with our daily needs all in one to provide continuity of the supplier from day to day to the work or the storm work needs, just to ensure the supplier had the sustainability, vested interest in the critical storm response that we need, and ensure the storm support would be supported as the majority of the volume is in the daily nighttime fueling. So during the negotiations, we shortlisted both of these vendors. During the negotiations, it was determined that the requirement of having the mobile DEF fueling incorporated as part of the bid was going to be cost prohibitive for JEA. And the I-10 affords the fleet team and the vendors an opportunity to have further discussion, about the mobile fleet DEF requirement and allowed for clarifications. So after input from the vendors, JEA reduced the requirements and adjusted to a standard tote delivery to allow the vendors the opportunity to further refine their bid pricing. So once we received the BAFO pricing, Gate Fuel Services was originally the lowest total cost respondent. And again, as I've mentioned, due to the very important service that this provides to JEA, and this being a new vendor, we jointly determined and vetted further just the technical specifications with this vendor to make sure they could meet all of our needs. And after joint determination and a series of documented meetings through JEA and Gate, along with Gate's internal review with their team, they let us know that they were unable to meet the technical requirements of the solicitation. The primary point of concern surrounded their ability to offer the sufficient support during storm and emergencies while also serving their existing client base. So they do service and support a lot of other areas throughout Jacksonville and the region when a storm hits. So consequently, the recommended awardee, Jacobus, was the lowest respondent who met the requirements of the solicitation. So just wanted to point out the amount of work that this team put into it to make sure that this company could perform the work, do the work. And it should be noted that even, once we moved to Jacobus, we further vetted with them. Again, they are the incumbent, so they understand what the work is, but we further vetted, their bid workbook to understand all of their pricing, and they noticed that there was an incorrect margin from their procurement department, which they add when they purchase fuel, and the price difference between the BAFO amount, which you see on the award of, it was a little over $7 million, actually afforded us a reduction in the actual award price that we're estimating. So all that being said, the award amount you can see is a little bit lower than what their BAFO was, and due to the nature of what I just suggested. And I just want to make a final note that through this procurement, we are, even though they are the incumbent, through this competitive procurement, we have seen a total cost difference in our current pricing of almost $500,000 over the 5 years, and that's all O&M expense, which is important to the organization. So that's probably the longest I've ever spoken about an award, but I wanted to give you guys that information, and I'll open it up for questions or comments from the committee. All right, seeing none, I will ask for a motion to approve award number 2.
Motion by Steve Tooten.
Thanks, Steve. Can I get a second?
Alan McElroy, I'll second it.
Thanks, Alan. All right, so we've got a move and a second to approve award number 2, and I will do a roll call through the committee. Alan McElroy?
Approved.
Joe Arfano?
Approved.
Stephen Datz?
Approved.
Steve Tooten?
Approved.
And Wayne Young?
Approved.
Thank you. And I'm going through your names as I see you guys on my screen, so maybe I'll get into the habit of doing it alphabetically going forward, but right now I'm doing it based off of your faces that I can see. All right, we're going to move to award number 5, and this is a contract increase. This is for our street light materials for JEA inventory stock. And this agreement includes 102 different street light materials, with the primary application to provide street lighting to JEA's energy customers. So we are still within the original term of the contract. It was a 5-year with 2 optional 1-year renewals. And it is set to expire April 30th of 2021. So Stuart Irby is the recommended awardee, and the amount of the contract increase is $8,127,237.37. A little bit of background on this. Originally, this was bid and approved by the Awards Committee April 14th in 2016, in the amount of a little over $38 million. So since the inception of the original agreement, 2 factors have played into the shift in the spending relative to projections, driving the proposed contract increase. And those 2 things are utilizing annual pricing adjustments based off of Consumer Price Index, which we refer to as CPI. And the overall pricing has increased 6.5% since the original award, which wasn't factored into the original award amount based off of the workbook that was presented. Those increases are allowed per the contract, and the vendor has taken advantage of those. Estimated usage for the 102 contracted items is about 24% higher than originally forecasted, and primarily attributed by project work related to new development work and converting existing street lights to LED replacements. And so based off of those two factors, this is a request to add the contract funds in a little over $8 million to cover the forecasted requirements. And those requirements will get us through April 30th of 2021. And we have received those from the planning team, but also we vetted those and have gotten approval from the business managers and the directors from the energy group as well. We also reached out to Irby just from the reduction, from the increase in the amount of streetlights that we're buying to ask for a reduction in pricing, but was unable to negotiate any cost reductions there. I will open it up for questions to the committee. And do you guys have any questions or comments?
Jenny, this is Wayne Young. I do have a question.
Sure.
With respect to the original cost being 43 million plus and the award being 38, did the 43 include consideration for CPI?
Joe, I can't hear Wayne. Is it on my end, or I can't hear anything?
Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you. You're faint, but I can hear you.
Yeah, same here.
Wayne, I would take him off video if you can. I can barely hear him.
Same here.
Okay, going off video, is that better?
Yes.
Yes, just speak up, Wayne.
Okay. My question is focused on the original estimate versus the award amount, and there's a delta there of approximately 5 million. Did the original estimate include consideration for CPI and the overall price increase?
So it does not. When we put the workbook together, we're asking for unit prices. And we're coming up with estimates based off of what the planning group and the business units see for the future. So this was a 5-year forecast that we were working with. So obviously some things can change. But per the contract, to have a long-term contract to reduce some risk on the vendor side, we do allow for some kind of price adjustment throughout the term of the contract. And we link it to what is called the Consumer Price Index, what I said earlier about the CPI. So it fluctuates with the market. And so to answer your question, we don't incorporate those into the workbook because we don't know what the market's going to do. And so each year at the time of their anniversary, we will check the CPI, and we will, if they request us to. It's initiated on their end, but it's allowed for the contract. So we will then check the CPI at that point and see what the market looks like. So the market obviously can fluctuate up or down. And so if it was in our favor, then our pricing would go down. And if it's in their favor, then the pricing goes up. And so in this instance, over the last 4 years, over the years, we've seen about a 6.5 increase, but that's over the multiple years. I'd say on average, we're seeing about a 2%, maybe less in this market right now of the CPI kind of shifting throughout the year. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you guys have any other questions? Okay. I will ask for a motion to approve award number 5.
Wayne Young, motion to approve.
Thanks, Wayne. Can I get a second?
Joe Arfano, second.
Great. Thanks, Joe. I will do a roll call through the entire committee. Joe Arfano.
Approved.
Wayne Young.
Approved.
Stephen Datz.
Approved.
Steve Tootin.
Approved.
And Alan McElroy.
Approved.
All right, thanks, guys. Let's go to award number 6. This is a contract extension. This is for janitorial services. This is our open market, which means we put it out to everyone in the community to bid on. But just as a note, JEA does shelter a good deal of janitorial services, which means only JSUB vendors can bid on a portion of this work. This portion is about 55% of our services, and the JSUB portion is 45%. So a really good deal is just sheltered for them. We are requesting a 6-month contract extension for janitorial services. And the following facilities include downtown, the Tower, the Customer Service Building, the Adair Building, Main Street Lab and Conservation Center, Commonwealth, West Side, South Side, SOC, Pearl Street, Ridenhour, the Medical Clinic, New Kings Road, and other buildings. And we have about 710 buildings, primarily in Duval County, with some additional sites in Clay, Nassau, and St. John's. And about 50 of those buildings are office spaces, administrative centers, service centers, and visitor centers. Trusted Hand Service, Inc. is the recommended awardee, and the 6-month extension amount is $418,100.20. So the original term of this contract was 1 year with 2 optional 1-year renewals. So we set this up and went to the awards committee for approval back in May of 2017 in the amount of about $540,000 for a 1-year term. And a 2-year renewal was then approved by the awards committee. Instead of doing one individual year after year, we brought it to the awards committee as a 2-year since they were performing so well. And what that does is allows us to reduce the risk in something like a CPI, where they would have an opportunity to year after year, increase that. So we went to them and structured it in a way that they agreed to no CPI and to hold their pricing for the next 2 years. So ultimately, we've had 3 years of no increases on this contract. So the solicitation process to rebid these services, we had initiated in March, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the decision was made to put the solicitation on hold and for us to take this through this process to extend. This vendor, I'll just say, again, has agreed to hold their original bid pricing. So this would be, another 6 months at the original bid from 2017. They've performed extremely well for JEA under these difficult circumstances, and they've really stepped up to the plate to help assist JEA with all of the COVID needs that we've had since March. So you'll see the increase in that award amount. You'll see that's only a 6-month amount. And so it is inflated due to the additional services that we have asked the vendor to support JEA on over, just the additional cleaning and making sure that we're covered from a safety standpoint. So through the original contract, we did have ad hoc pricing for services that fell outside the normal contract. So we've been using that pricing over the past 4 months. And so just to give you an idea of what they've been doing, Trusted Hand has provided, additional employees between the hours of 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday at each of the 7 major sites. And so the employees make rounds. They provide, regular disinfecting of all high-touch service areas that, aren't normally included, like stairwells and elevators, and just, they're already cleaning the bathroom. So anywhere that people are touching to help us reduce in that risk of spreading the COVID-19 virus. Due to the increased service levels allowed through procurement, we've done a 10% increase. But then this award is to get us through the next 6 months with, the additional services and then just our regular service needs. So the award amount was based off of our regular monthly spend, which is approximately $44,000, and that's just on our normal services. Then the addition of about $3,500 for the wellness center that has been added to start cleaning, which used to be, I think, wiped down by the employees. So we've added that. And then about $22,000 for the additional COVID-19 services with those additional employees and additional work that they're doing. So really important work, great job by this vendor, and I will open it up to the committee for questions or comments.
Jenny, this is Alan McElroy. I just have a question about at the end of the 6-month period, what are the plans if we're still under the COVID restrictions in December when for these additional services? I'm just curious what the plans are from there.
That's a great question. So we will look at the current situation, at the time, and we plan to just kind of be monitoring that through the summer and to the beginning of the fiscal year. We would have the spec ready to go to hit the street for a new bid with the new requirements based off of what we think is forthcoming. If it's in the best interest of JEA to keep this vendor, if things start to escalate or we feel it's best to not change this vendor right now, we could work with them on a further extension. We have the flexibility to do that per our operational procedures, but I think, we would need to look at that. We'd need to really take that into consideration and make sure it was the best interest for JEA instead of a new rebid.
Hey, through the chair, Jenny, it's Lasikia.
Yes,
I just want to comment on that. And I do think Alan's question was a great one. I just want to keep the committee, just remind the committee pursuant to your operational procedures that, there are conditions with extensions. And as we talk about open competition and making sure that we're giving other JSEBs the opportunity to participate in projects, 6 months in a contract may not give you the footing for an emergency condition or a force majeure event if we've been operating under COVID-19 8 months. So I would just, caution the committee to the extent that this is something, we're already beyond the original solicitation requirements at this point. And so I would just caution the committee, and if there's any opportunity to plan ahead and not get to the point of December and do another extension under this contract. I'm sure there are other JSEBs that would like that opportunity to compete. I just wanted to make that point for the record. Thanks, Jenny.
Sure, of course. And just to clarify, this one is our open market one. I agree with your comments. So this is our open market one. Our JSEB solicitation is still in effect and has not expired yet, but that will be bid out as well for future opportunities from a sheltered perspective. But also JSEBs can still bid on the open market as well. And so it just opens up the competition there a little bit more from an open market perspective for this specific contract, which is about 55% of our spend on janitorial services.
And
so do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, this is Alan McElroy again. I agree with Lasikia that we need to look at it over the next 6 months and maybe open it, rebid it or something. Maybe separate the additional services from the standard services, if you will. But anyway, and that was your answer, was that we would look through and monitor everything. So I think that's good. But I think Lasikia brings up some very good points.
Agree. Just wanted to clarify the JSEB piece. Make sure you guys weren't confused about that. So do you guys have any other questions on award number 6? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve award number 6.
Alan McElroy, I make a motion to approve number 6.
Thanks, Alan. Can I get a second?
Steve Tootin, second.
Thanks, Steve. All right, I'll ask for a vote from the entire committee. Steve Tootin,
Approved.
Alan McElroy,
Approved.
Stephen Datz,
Approved.
Joe Arfano,
Approved.
and Wayne Young.
Approved.
All right, thanks, guys. Lasikia, I almost said your name because I could see your picture. All right, so last award, we've got award number 7. So invitation, this is an invitation to bid, this is an IFB. This is for Commonwealth Service Center paving and drainage improvement. This project includes the demolition, install of new parking areas, pavement, sidewalks, and landscaping to provide additional parking movement areas for Commonwealth. We've got the awardee is Besh and Smith Civil Group Inc. in the amount of $542,407.98. And this project completion is expected to be done September of 2020. We had quite a bit of competition on this one. So we received 6 bids for this. And you can see the estimated project value versus the bid amount. The bid amount was approximately 26% higher than the budget estimate. And so the decision was made to review the scope of services with the low bidder defined the best way to reduce costs to try to fit it in a little bit better with our budget. And so after the review, we intend to remove the electric vehicle infrastructure from this, from the phase 3 section of this work. And this portion of the bid was about $58,000, which reduced the award amount. And the EV installation, we aren't going to take that, out completely. What we've done is we've pulled it out of the scope of work, and we'll allow it to be completed under the facilities electrical services contract, which results in about a 50% savings for just that portion. And so we will pull it out, and then we'll get a savings based off of the price comparison due to those contracts. We did do a check, the removal of the EV infrastructure from the other bids as well, because it was a line item on the bid. We were able to subtract all of those out, and it didn't affect the low bid. The outcome was still the Besh and Smith Civil Service Group without any of the EV portion in the work. And so we are still confident that they're still the low bidder, even with the reduction in scope. And then just to give a little history of the project, this project was split into 3 phases. Phase 1 was awarded to Besh and Smith Civil Group in January of 17, so we bid that out. And phase 2 and 3 couldn't be completed until the tax collector vacated the building at Commonwealth. And so a lot of phase 2 was the west parking lot, which the tax collector used to conduct DMV driving tests. And throughout the process and between now and 17, between those timeframes, the tax collector extended their lease twice, which resulted in delays of completing the project. So now phase 2 and phase 3, which is covered in this bid, can be completed. And hopefully, I see that it's going to be completed in September 2020. So I'm going to cross our fingers that no storms hit at all, that Commonwealth can get up and running without any issues. So I will open it up to the committee for any questions or comments.
Jenny,
Yes, sir.
Is the tax collector still on site? I didn't really see. I know they said 2 extensions. I didn't know if they're still there.
I know, I will have Matt just confirm that, but I don't believe they are.
Yes, hi, this is Matt Poteet. No, they are vacating the building as we speak. They should be out by the end of the month. They've shut down their operations out there during the COVID, and so that's why we went ahead and put this out for solicitation. And then, because we wouldn't have another stopping point or extension of lease, so we knew we were confident that they were going to be out of there for good. And again, at the end of the month, they will be turning the keys back over to us, and we can again proceed with the project.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. And that timing should work out well. By the time we get the contract executed and all of that, we have some time to get the contract in place as well. So they'll have enough time to get out of the building and for us to proceed. All right. Are there any other questions for award number 7? All right. I will ask for a motion to approve award number 7.
Steve Tootin, motion to approve.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Joe. All right, I will do a roll call through the entire committee to approve award number 7. Joe Arfano?
Approved.
Steve Tootin?
Approved.
Alan McElroy?
Approved.
Stephen Datz?
Approved.
And Wayne Young?
Approved.
Thank you. All right, so the items have been reviewed by Procurement and Budget, and now the Awards Committee, and items 1 and 2 and 5 through 7 have each been approved individually. So the entire agenda is approved for June 18th, 2020. And I'll ask the committee, is there any other business to come before the Awards Committee? All right, seeing none, I just want to wish everyone on the call who is a father, happy Father's Day this weekend. If you're traveling, please be safe and enjoy your weekend. You guys deserve it. And I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.